We will call the July 20th, 2022 meeting to order. And first off, our new board members that were re-elected were Jennifer, Mike, and Lee, and they all completed their oath of office paperwork by the deadline of June 30th, so that is all taken care of. And then I will call for nomination for president.
I'll nominate Mike Schwer.
I will second.
Any other nominations?
I'll move nomination cease.
Okay. Second to that motion.
Second.
Rob?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Fred?
Okay,
And I will turn it over to our elected president, Mike.
Okay. So then we would look for nominations for vice president.
Lee, you wanna do that?
Yeah. I'll nominate Cindy. Is
Well, I
there
was
a
gonna
second?
do it. I'll second it.
Rob got the second.
Oh, wow.
So
Rob got the
we
second.
nominated her?
Lee and Rob.
Making
Any,
me get sweaty hands here.
any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, we have a nomination for Cindy as vice president. We roll call. Lindsay?
Rob?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Cindy?
Sure, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Okay. Then, any additions or changes on the agenda?
The only thing, just looking at it right before, is if we wanna do a separate one, we can either do it under committees, or I don't have a place for career and tech rep or seek rep on this agenda.
We can do it in committees, I think.
And,
Yeah, that'd be like a committee.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Then no
No,
additions.
no
So that
addition.
would be under board committee reports. 5C.
No, there's a spot for committees someplace
Or we're forming committees.
here.
Oh, forming committee.
Yeah,
7B.
7B.
yeah. So we'll do
Holy crap, that's a lot of stuff.
and C. Okay.
We better keep her moving tonight.
Okay. Motion to approve our agenda.
Jennifer, motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, as approved. Consent agenda, we have our 2 minutes from June, the bills and financial reports. I think let's kinda roll through a little bit. Is there any comments on minutes? We'll kinda, if there's any questions, instead of tie them all together. No questions on them? How about bills? Anything on bills?
Yes. Jennifer and Bill, what's Marco for Meraki Enterprise and cloud licenses?
So that's part of the Switch purchase.
Okay.
It was the licensing part of that, so they invoiced for that, cause that
So
can
it's a
already be.
2022, 2023 purchase.
Yep, those bills are for the current fiscal year.
Hey, trick question I had also.
Mhm.
Where did that thing go? Okay. On your final statement you sent out today, that's the financial summary report, July 20th, 2022. Balance on hand last month, building fund 1.222. Whereas on this one, it's,
We're missing a digit.
Apparently.
I hate it when they misplace decimal points the wrong way.
Well, I can't tell you what the exact amount is, cause I don't have it in front of me, but
But I know it's not
it is not. It is
122,000.
definitely
It's a million something.
1,222,000, I'm guessing 95, 94.
Okay,
But I will email that correct amount tomorrow.
all right, well, with that clarification, I guess I'm,
Are we contracted already for the price for the audit for 2020, 2021? Are we anticipating 12,000 again? Did we multi-year bid that, or?
We are contracted for the 2020 audit and the 2021 audit
Correct.
for 12,000
Dollar-
for those 2
dollar-
years.
5,000 each, you said?
6,000.
6,000
That's what
more.
we just paid, okay.
That
That's
we
what I
just
wanted to
spent,
know.
yeah.
Got it.
I'll make a motion to approve,
Consent agenda,
yeah.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Chad? Any other discussion? If not, roll call, Lindsay.
Rob,
Yes.
Chad.
Yep.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett.
Yes,
And we got communications, we have anything there?
On patron forum, no, nobody has contacted me, so.
Then we'll move to report superintendent.
Normally, I will have a report in your packet, so you can preview it before. Obviously, I didn't get one in this one, but just some things, just briefly, in my couple weeks, one of my things I've been working on with input from many others is a staff handbook. I think I'm on 40 pages right now, but I was hoping to have that done in time to send it out last Friday, but time of year and trying to get everybody and get their input just didn't work, and I don't want to send that document to you without you having time to actually go through it very thoroughly, so that when we do bring it to the board for approval or whatnot, you have the time to ask questions, if so. So I'm working on that, like I said, with other admin and other people's help. Tomorrow, administrators, we have a meeting, the three of us, Danielle, JR, and myself are meeting tomorrow. So be the first time I've met with each of them individually, but it'll be the first time we meet as a administrative team. For that Monday, the internet will be down in this building because they're redoing the switches, replacing, so office staff will work from home. And they have stuff to do, but they won't be in the building, so if you call, you may not get an answer on Monday for that, just so you know. With that, and then I'll try, and you'll see it in my report, but I'll be gone this Friday and probably a couple days. I'm going fishing next week, so I'll probably be gone a couple days next week also. But those are things I will put in my report, just so that you guys are aware.
what size fish you caught or what?
Well, it wasn't very good last time, so hopefully they grew up and got bigger, so that's all I've got for my report.
Supposed to catch fish?
Yeah.
What?
Supposed to catch fish when you catch?
Yeah, but like I said, normally it would be in your packet, and unless you have any questions, that's what I have so far.
Okay, thanks.
Can I, when you send out that handbook, can you send that as its own attachment?
Yeah.
Not one of,
No, I will
So
just
it
send
doesn't
that,
get
whenever
lost.
I finish it, it could be in a week, Eric. If I get it done in a week, I'm gonna send it to you,
okay,
because I mean, it's 40 pages, I don't
Okay.
expect 5 days for you to even get through it. I'm hoping to give you a lot more time than that.
okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Wilson have anything on?
he did not, no.
Okay. Mrs. Bussey, elementary principal.
I just have, we are almost completely compliant with the new Centric code that's coming up for our plan. So I emailed 4 of our teachers, the music, phy ed, librarian, and counselor. They can work through an online module this year for free that'll make them compliant. And then I have 3 other teachers that will do the same training that we did last year, and through a grant that the state got, I think they lowered the cost to $50. And I talked to Mr. Curry about that earlier this week. I was able to meet the new special education teacher on Monday, Paige Hossauer. So I'll be sending out a little get to know you blip like I usually do with the other staff as soon as I receive that back from her. So that's all I have.
Any questions? No, thank you. Mrs. Bitts have anything technology-wise?
I didn't get anything from her. I'm assuming after the switches and everything get put in, she'll probably give a little overview at our August meeting.
So we'll move to committee reports. Policy and finance met, so policy, have anything other than what we're gonna talk later about? Or how do you wanna handle that?
Yeah, and that's, when we get to those, if anybody who's on those committees can speak freely of what was discussed, and if there, I mean, a lot of times, there may not be things that actually go to new business that need to be, you know, go to the full board for a motion.
These tonight do. so-
Yeah, but the practice will be to post minutes for those also, even though they're not, you don't have to approve them. So hopefully, you know, people can maybe gain some knowledge through those, if not from those committee members as well, so.
Okay. So then we'll just roll to unfinished, which is policy, virtual learning. And their recommendation is to do it, I'm assuming?
And I'll let a policy committee member just speak on that. I guess I'll just briefly say, in our conversation, the two plans from each of the principals were brought to that committee meeting for them to look at, full well knowing that the plans are not part of the policy. The policy gives us the option to do that. The plans are separate themselves and will continue to be, working documents. Hopefully, we don't have to utilize that policy very often, but if we do, it's there. And, with those plans, as we do virtual learn, we will keep kind of meeting and tweaking those as needed. So just so you know, those are separate. Those are kind of working documents.
It was great to see the plan, it already developed before the policy was even put in place. To see that we already have a plan, we know what we're gonna do, this is how it's gonna happen, and to have all that laid out, that was great.
And the administrators, they already have been talking, they know if they see, if the forecast is coming, they're gonna send the devices home with the kids. And if it doesn't develop, students will just bring the devices back. It's not so it was actually really, really good that the administrators seemed to already have that idea in their head, so.
And then in that plan, apparently, that policy it talks about attendance qualifications.
Yep.
Man, if I was a kid, I'd hate that idea.
Well, they don't go outside like we used to, so.
True.
My biggest concern with the virtual learning is if the kid is not able to have the family support at home during the hours of instruction, how do you count them attendant or not?
That Mrs.
Yep,
Bussing.
so on the elementary one
That's
with the
addressed.
younger kids, it said either they could attend or they can complete the work at a later time, within 2 days,
Okay.
to
That's
count towards
my only
attendance.
concern,
Cause I
can't.
thought about that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, so I think high school, 7th graders
They're
should be able to get on the device themselves and
Yeah, be able to manage them.
meet their time, yep.
They're not as,
COVID taught us all grandparents can learn, but probably not as fast.
Okay, so, and you guys recommend, the policy
Yeah.
committee recommends
Yeah.
it, so we're looking for a motion to adopt the virtual learning policy.
I'll make a motion to adopt the virtual learning policy.
I'll second.
Second by Lee. Any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Rob,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Cindy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett.
yes.
Okay, move into our set date and time for regular meetings. That was in
One of the emails. I'll make a motion to approve those dates, or did anybody have a problem with them?
what's the last day of instruction before Christmas again? The 23rd?
Oh.
This meeting's set for the 21st.
21st, 22nd is a comp day.
That was the only one I have. That was pretty tight up against the holiday, but I have no change in mind.
motion to approve that list of dates. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna roll a little different. Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor of the approval of the meeting dates, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If there's an opposed, then we'll get that listed instead of roll around. Okay,
If we're not spending money, we don't have to.
Remember?
board, committee, and
Keep it memorable.
appointments.
The calendar.
So do you wanna do the career and tech and seek first, and then we'll go through the other?
Yeah, if you wanna-
We visited about these committees, Mr. Curry and I
Yes.
did a lot of visiting on these committees, so. We'll do them too, and then we'll roll into the other ones.
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine. So if you want to just start with Cheyenne Valley Career and Tech
Okay.
and the rep for that.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay, we need one rep that would go to the Career and Tech Center as
I
our
would've-
ACN rep.
I guess I would appoint, or nominate Mike for that, or seems to hang out there a lot already.
that, he seems to do a good job.
Yeah. So, I'll make that nomination if that's what we need to do, or how do we do that? Just write him down, being it's
Send
a
them
committee.
Approve, or
Yeah, I don't
We could
think
do that
there's,
and then approve the whole slate when we get done, I
Okay.
think.
yes, you can.
Okay. How about Seek? Right now it's Chad.
Yeah, and it's changed a lot, everything's online, and with my schedule, I can't meet their 11 o'clock or 11:30 meetings. So cause my schedule, I just can't do it, so. I don't have time to get onto the computer, my work computers don't allow me to have a computer or a camera, so.
And that doesn't have to be board people, it could be administration, correct?
I,
Right, Chad? I mean, is there some that are
yeah,
administration? or
and
all-
Chad, you'd have to
Yeah.
tell me, I have no knowledge of
Yeah.
it, I'd have to check into it, so.
Yeah.
I personally would highly encourage a board member because we do principal advisory committee
Yeah.
meetings with them and it would be nice for a board member to
I'm
understand.
just saying it didn't have to.
Yeah,
be.
yeah, but
But in the past, we have had a board member
Yep,
on that
Yeah.
committee.
The education co-op, correct?
yep.
Yeah, the southeast.
That's kinda what I was thinking. She'd be all about that.
Michelle.
Oh, sure. You nominated her.
Does
Good
it,
job.
no, well, I'm
Second.
just asking, does it work, I mean, I don't wanna stick, like Chad said, somebody into something that they can't
Can't
manage
do.
into their time schedule, cause it is a daytime thing.
Mhm.
Into their work schedule, yeah.
I would believe she'd be flexible enough, she kinda runs that place, isn't she?
That's right. I think we should ask Michelle if she'd be interested in that
We
one.
put her, and if it doesn't work, we can address.
Yeah,
Chad.
Right.
We
if
can
that
change
doesn't
it.
work, Cindy will wanna do it,
Good.
I'm sure.
We'll shoot for Michelle, if it doesn't work, we'll address it next
Yeah.
forum. So then the rest, committees, first of all, Mr. Curry and I have talked about going with 6 committees, 3 on a committee, and everybody has 2 portfolios. And we went through where we thought were conflicts with some people, where strengths were, that type of thing, so I'm gonna just roll through what we got, and then see if it makes sense to all of you, and then we could look at approval all this.
Could you list all the committees you have first?
Yeah.
We got budget and finance and negotiations, we put them together because they think they fit best together. Second committee is building and grounds and transportation. Third one is curriculum. Fourth one is policy. Fifth one is extracurricular, and we did add a 6th one of personnel committee, personnel committee. So
It's like
from,
personal hygiene, personal,
So you got rid of hot lunch,
I got rid of hot lunch, and I did talk to Cindy about that when we did some of that discussion,
cause that'll be managed by staff.
Mr. Curry.
Yeah.
and if they don't cook good, we could fall under personnel.
Randomly show up for lunches every now and then.
That's right.
Okay, so here's
Okay.
our proposal for committees as we visited here. Budget and finance and negotiations. Lee, Jennifer, and myself on that one. Building and grounds and transportation. Brett, Rob, and Eric. Curriculum, Cindy, Michelle, and Chad. Policy, Cindy, Michelle, and myself. Extracurricular, Rob, Eric, and Jennifer. And Personnel Committee, Chad, Brett, and Lee. That gives everybody 2.
Personnel was, can you say policy and personnel?
Policy was
Michelle,
Cindy,
Mike.
Michelle, and me, Mike.
Extracurricular was Eric,
Extracurricular is Rob, Eric, and Jennifer.
Personnel, Chad, Brent, and
I'm gonna add some to that, because we talked about trying to get 2,
Right.
3 to a committee.
Yep, for that, just to not overwhelm, but to give everybody 2 committees to be on, and remember, as we go through committees, moving forward, committee meetings will have agendas that we will stick to. As far as that, once we get our committees set, I will bring monthly, what I think is a monthly list of committee meetings to the next board meeting. They're not set in stone, but there's certain time that committees need to meet and certain times that there's not a lot for them to do. I will preface that by saying just what I've looked at initially is, policy is going to be busy right away. We've got a lot of policy to go through and amend, adopt, get rid of, whatever else. So for that, I mean, sometimes you may think, well, this committee's not gonna do a lot. You never know. I mean, I'll bring personnel, personnel, what do they do? Well, on Monday, I have an interview for assistant cook that I'd like a personnel committee member to sit in on. Because one might wonder, well, why personnel? Well, I bring recommendations to you or Mrs. Bussey or whomever else. I think it's good for a board member to be sitting in those also to bring that recommendation to the board and not just falling on me or her or whomever else for that. So that's why we kind of came up with these 6 committees, and we tried to look at, I don't really know all of you that well, but try to find, committees that I think fit, your backgrounds and everything else with that. And maybe we did, maybe we didn't, I guess. I don't know, hopefully we did.
That was our goal.
Yes.
Sounds like
It's
more
a
than our
12-month
one meeting a
plan.
month.
With that, but, yeah.
Is it 12 months, right? This
Redoes every annual.
potentially
Yeah.
restacks.
Yeah, this is for your term year of this year, yes.
Got
And then every year, committees go on the July annual meeting for revision or changes or whatever else, yes. These are 12-month committees, so, for that, and even after this meeting, I need to talk to 3 committees already to set up meetings, so.
And we're still going with 2/3 as a quorum, so if one
Correct.
person can't make it, as long as 2 people are
Yes,
there.
2/3 is a quorum,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's our proposed list, including career and tech and C. So we would need a motion if you guys are okay with that, to approve those committee assignments.
I make a motion to accept the committees and appointments as stated.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Rob? Okay, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor of approval of the committee assignments and appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Next is board compensation.
Can I ask one question on that?
Yep.
If we have a question or concern we wanna bring forward, would we bring it to a committee? Or we bring it to the full board and then have the board refer it back to a committee? What's the best way?
Coming through committee or coming just from a board member about something through that committee? Which one, Eric?
Just,
Or as a parent.
just as a parent maybe, or something that's, hasn't been on the agenda. If we have an issue we wanna discuss, do we bring it to the full board, or do we try to bring it to?
As a
the-
parent, if you have something you want to discuss, it needs to go to the proper channel. If it's about a teacher, it needs to start with that teacher. It doesn't skip
Well, let's say,
Mrs. Bussey, it doesn't skip me, it doesn't
Right.
go to the straight board.
well,
But if it has to do with policy, and I'll just use policy, if a parent is wondering about a policy, and, they can call me, or they can talk to a policy committee member for that.
so if I have a concern on extracurricular, I'm
Yep.
on the extracurricular committee, would I bring that to you to put on the agenda for the
Yes.
committee or for the full board?
You would bring it to me, or the person who will chair or run that committee, and just extracurricular, it may be Mr. Wilson a lot of times because he's the AD. For that, I will sit in a lot of committees early because I'm new and I need to know the workings of the district for that. But as we get comfortable and kind of settled in, I don't want to go to every committee meeting every night for that. So like I said, for extracurricular, you would take it to Mr. Wilson, who would then set that committee meeting. Yes,
Good.
he will do the agenda.
So So if we have people that come to us on the street or whatever and say something, it should come through the front office to get put on an agenda,
Correct.
rather than us have to be extended to an
Yes.
opinion.
Yes.
Right, call headquarters.
Yes.
That's why we have Mr. Curry.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Next is board compensation. Looking to change or anything there?
Yeah, go up. Make it 100.
I guess I have a question. Why doesn't the board president make more money? They do a lot of work behind the scenes. I mean,
He's more community oriented than the rest of us.
I didn't
mean-
know it was paid when I took it in April, so.
I don't know. I just think as a board president, you have to do a lot behind the scenes, and I'm wondering why they get paid the same as someone who just,
Cause they have the same power as the rest of the.
Well, but, I mean, you come in and sit down with Mr. Curie on your own time and you meet with Lindsay and you know, you take phone calls as you go and
I don't want any more money. Appreciate you telling me I do that, but yeah. If you needed some, I could put mileage in, but that's what I would do if I had to make a trip out, but no, I'm not looking to get anything.
Okay. Alright, and just,
How about when we have multiple committee meetings the same day? We get paid for every one of them. Do we need to?
I think our committee, just me, I think our board meetings should be worth more than our committee meetings.
right,
I believe we're too high on our committee meetings, is my thought.
I agree.
Yeah, and I
With
didn't know.
mileage one time, one trip.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
trip, yeah,
You come for the committee meeting, then you come for the board meeting, it's still mileage.
it's still mileage, one trip, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like 75 for board meeting and 50 for committee?
That's just I think the
I don't,
board.
I don't
And then we
know.
would be efficient
We
and
shouldn't go
effective.
up.
No.
No, we
I
should go.
think, yeah, if
We gotta
anything, we gotta
stay.
set the trend that things need to start tightening down.
Tightening a little bit.
And then, I mean, limit it to, if there's multiple meetings in a day, just set a rate and
Cap
drop
of
the
two.
committee down, or, yeah, even one.
I think moving ahead, we're not gonna be piggybacking committee meetings very often, are we?
Well, just moving ahead with agendas, hopefully committee meetings will be a little bit more streamlined and,
Yeah.
you know, just sticking to the agenda, so you won't be, you know, giving as much time during those. Sometimes, like initially when these groups I have to talk to, I'm gonna try to set maybe 2 committees
Yeah.
meetings next week or the week after, because I need to get some stuff done,
Yeah.
you know, real soon here, moving forward, so.
Well, and you would.
So it may
probably want-
happen that there could be back to back for a
Right.
person. Yep,
Yeah,
but
you would
most
want-
of the time, no. Most of the time, there'll be a, you know, one committee meeting on this night, and maybe 2 weeks later, there'll be a different committee having a meeting
And when we get.
per
going,
month
yeah.
or something like that, yes. Eric, question?
Well, you would probably schedule multiple on the same night, so you could be more efficient with your own time.
Right now,
Move
yes,
forward.
but like I said, moving forward, once we kind of get in a groove and, I get used to the run-ins of, the district and everything, I'm going to assign other people to
Managing.
to manage those committees, and not me on every one of them.
I'm not opposed though to what you said, at a different rate,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I
So
agree
make a
with those.
motion to put the committee meetings at 50 and leave the board meetings at 75.
Yep.
Second?
Any other discussion there?
Would we, if
What do
there
you-
was multiple meetings the
That's-
same day, would you pay for them both?
That's an
Cap at
idea.
one committee and then.
If you had
Well,
two,
if you-
then you could probably go to the 75, I mean, or something.
Well-
Is that what your question is, what,
Make it
if we made
easy.
2 committee meetings?
Yeah.
If you make 2 committee meetings, consider that equal to a board meeting.
That's what I'm
Call it
saying, yeah.
75.
Does that add a lot of complexity to figuring out what was going on then?
Lindsay's looking at us like, what?
Yep,
It should just be,
As long as it's on the-
whatever.
50 for the first, 25 for the second.
it should just be straight. It'd be easier
I
for.
think it'd be just
for-
straight, yeah.
Yeah,
Then you
okay.
have to change all your yellow sheets.
We'll just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay, for right now, the motion would be for 75 for
We'd be
a
going down.
board meeting, board meeting or special meeting, $50 for committee meeting.
Unless that's too much work.
Any other discussion? If not, all in, assuming
I
you're,
have a question, is that
Yep.
effective for this meeting?
In fiscal year,
Yeah, this is.
yeah, this is a regular meeting, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
so it'd be no change.
would be no
Okay,
change.
just
right.
making sure it's
Right.
not, because there's
Right.
been meetings since the first of the year.
Correct.
so.
Yeah.
So just so I understand, 50 committee meetings, so if you'd have two committee meetings in evening, then it would be, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, we're clear. Board meetings or special meetings are 75. Committee meetings are $50 each.
Effective 7/20.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Approved. Next, we gotta approve a business manager.
Make a motion to approve Lindsay as our business manager.
I'll second.
By Lee.
All third.
Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, approving Lindsay as our business manager, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Authorization of investments. We need a motion to authorize Lindsay and Mr. Curry to make investments and move funds on behalf of the school district.
I'll make a motion.
Motion there by Brett, is there a second?
Second.
By Eric. Any discussion? If not, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. F, check authorization, which is your general fund, activity and extracurricular, food service, building fund. Be Lindsay, Mr. Curry, and myself for that. We need a motion for.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second by Lee. Any discussion? If not, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Pupil membership.
In your packet through, for that, all it does is just so that you see what our average daily membership is and our average daily attendance, because our ADM is what they use for foundation aid payments, so.
We don't need any motion.
Yes, make a
We
motion
do need a
and,
motion,
yes,
okay?
let's have it
Can
approved.
you briefly discuss, this is a daily thing? Cause like, for me, I don't understand, pre-K had 20 kids or whatever, and it's 2.21.
Pre-K, the only kids that count because it's a non-funded,
Okay,
is your special ed kids.
okay,
So on a daily
And that is
average,
developed through
you have
MTSS.
2.21,
okay,
yes, because one of your kids may not be, they may just come for
There.
services.
okay, okay, and then the rest is actual head counts of the class.
Correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
We have a motion.
We just have to approve this report,
Yes.
motion to approve the pupil membership survey.
Is there a second?
All second.
Brett? Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Travel reimbursement rates is for mileage and per diems.
I see that's escalated.
Isn't that just state rate though?
Yeah, that's what it says, state
Yeah.
rate, yes.
Yeah. I make a motion to accept state rate for travel reimbursement.
And
But
The
the
meal
meals are
rates
not.
are not state rates.
Oh, it's meals,
Okay.
oh,
The
my
meals are
mileage
not.
is, but the other
my
is not.
mistake, my
Yeah.
mistake, sorry.
What are
The
we
meals are not
currently at
actually-
on the meals? Oh, there we
Actually
go.
bumped them up a little bit.
The staff are the same. Right, yeah, the staff are the same.
Staff are the same, I bumped up the student meals, I think about $2 each, because you're not getting much for
No.
$6 for breakfast or even 8 for lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really kind of low, but, you know, part of it is that's what the district will pick up if they're going with a group or a club, then the club picks up the additional expense for
Right,
that.
right, right.
Do a motion for
So
what's
I make a
presented.
motion to accept the travel reimbursement rates and staff meals and student meal rates.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
By Rob, any other discussion there? Hearing none, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that is approved. District paper. We just got a list one, is that?
We've
Yep.
never done this before, so
So,
What do you do with your minutes?
I
we just post them online on on the
You don't
website.
post them in a
Cause
paper,
we voted not to, we've had a vote to
then
not
you
to
don't
vote.
have to, then you don't have to do anything with this.
Okay,
Alright.
we've
If
been-
you're not posting them in the paper, then you don't have to do anything with
Okay.
it.
Okay, J is the point representative of the Cheyenne Valley Special Education Unit. That usually would be Mr. Curry.
Curry, yeah. I, make a motion to appoint, Mr. Curry as representative to the Cheyenne Valley Special Education Unit.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, as approved. Next is K, consider designate Andrew Curry and Lindsay Polk as authorized representative for the title 1, 2, 4, is that 4? or is it-
Mm-hmm.
Still 4?
They're still classified as 4.
Okay,
I mean,
And-
that's how it is presented to us, and then we
Okay.
get transferability.
and school food service.
I'll make that motion.
By Lee, is there a second?
I'll second.
Brett. Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? L, consider appointing Mrs. Bussey as foster care liaison.
Who was?
I don't know who was.
I think
listed.
I
she's
believe
always,
that was.
she's always been.
I
It
believe
wasn't
was
me, I
Mrs.
wasn't
Bussey.
assigned anybody.
I don't know that we had a foster care liaison previously. I know we had the homeless
The
one,
homeless
and
liaison.
that was
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Wilson,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure about the foster care.
Just checking.
We're still considering Mrs. Bussey for this.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Second. Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. M, consider appointing Mr. Wilson as homeless education designee.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Brett.
second.
Cindy? Any discussion? Not, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. And consider appointing Mr. Curry as Title 9 Director.
What Title IX is?
Equal.
Equal
Excellent.
opportunity and
Activities.
athletic.
Equality,
Yeah.
yeah.
So why not the athletic director? Cause it's academic and athletic?
Yes, Title IX initially started with athletics, but it's really in everything that we
Yeah.
do,
Okay,
as far
that's
as
fine.
everything that we offer accolademically, athletically, anything.
Got it.
It's basically EO
Bathrooms.
representative for the school.
Mr.
Got it.
Curry, with that, I just noticed that we were going to appoint a 504 coordinator in July. Would that be part of this one, or? Remember, cause we were gonna switch to
Oh.
the 504,
Right, yes,
sorry,
504?
no,
coordinator,
yeah, we'll do that in August,
perfect,
yes.
okay,
I'll
Okay.
put that on my notes,
I threw that at you at your
No,
visit,
that's-
sorry.
that's fine.
So I make a motion to consider, Mr. Curry as the Title IX director.
Okay,
Yes.
is there a second?
Sure, Jen.
Jen? Any other discussion? If not, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. O, consider approval of principals as the authorized representatives for the school immunization law, Century Code.
I'll make that motion.
By Lee, is there a second?
Second.
Brett? Discussion? Not, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? P, set breakfast and hot lunch price. Budget and finance, what was our recommendation? You jotted it down?
You want me to go, or you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the recommendation for breakfast was $1.50 for elementary, junior high, high school, adults and guests, $2. Lunch, the recommendation for elementary was $2.65, $2.75 for junior high and high school, and adults or guests, $4, and extra milk, 50 cents for everyone.
What change was that? Or was it the same?
Elementary breakfast was for everyone, breakfast was previously $1.35, adults and guests were $2. For lunch, elementary was previously $1.70, junior high and high school were previously $1.85, and extra milk was previously 25 cents. Adults and guests were previously $3.
So, a question on this also, just because I met with the new head cook the other day. Seconds. Do we charge?
We typically do.
What do we charge?
I don't have any idea what that rate would have been. To my knowledge, I
5
don't.
seconds or for peanut butter and bread?
hot seconds only.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
because-
Entree
To my
type
knowledge,
seconds,
we've
yes.
never charged.
See,
We punch it in, but it hasn't charged a price only for milk. So, yeah, we punch it in to keep track of it for the state, but it doesn't actually charge the account.
if you didn't feed them enough the first time, why can't you give them a little more? There's grade school kids that aren't eating that
You'd have
much.
to double check with Joanne though, just to make sure. Cause everything is so different with the cost being covered.
Okay,
We
So-
haven't paid for anything for 2 years, so it's
Right.
hard to know.
I'd say no charging on seconds.
and I don't know,
I don't think we have.
Except milk,
Mrs. Buster, it's
maybe.
just been the milk, I think.
It's just the milk.
Yeah.
Yep, milk.
If it's already cooked, I mean,
I don't think we should charge for seconds, cause then what are you gonna get? I mean, one kid gets a little bit, the next one gets a lot.
what's your
What are you gonna
understanding?
decide that?
and
rate
I
is?
don't know, and I'd have to check, I didn't even think of it till she brought it up yesterday afternoon, we were talking. But I don't know if you have to charge, and then if we didn't, if the board decided not to charge our kids, then our general fund would eat that amount,
I
whatever
believe
we
that-
set it
I
at.
believe that's what's happening right now.
Whether it was 50 cents or whatever it was, then yeah, we would pay that out of our general funds.
As the attendant, as they take the count for the
Right.
second,
Mhm.
general
Yes.
fund would compensate for that rather than the
Right.
parent-child
Right.
program.
Correct,
Right.
yes. For that, but you can, let's do this for time's sake, because we should be fine on it, but if you want to approve what we have set, I will check into the seconds part of it, and we
We
can
can
look
come
at that at the August meeting,
We'll look to approve what we've got here.
yes.
You never wanna keep food from kids, but you also don't want waste, so.
Well, no,
something
and that's
I
what we
would
talked
consider
about,
too.
I mean, I want it to go to a kid, I don't want it thrown in the garbage,
Well, that and
That's
just to
more-
go get
Yes.
seconds, cause they're free,
yes.
and then leave most of it on there.
Yes, and the only reason this was brought up is because we were talking about maybe changing things up a little bit with hot lunch and how we would do seconds or something like that, so that's,
As she has
How the
thoughts,
conversation
you could bring that
started.
back to us, yeah.
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
Do we know, is hot lunch gonna be reimbursed this year?
We don't know yet, we haven't heard anything. Well, I haven't, Mrs. Bussey thought,
I just saw something, that a
Yeah.
principal posted that it wouldn't be, either way, we want to encourage our parents to apply
Right.
for free and reduced lunches,
So-
cause that affects our title money, but it's not official yet.
yeah, and if I hear something either way, I will just send a email out to the full board on it, just FYI.
Lindsay sent out the Keep Kids Fed app.
No.
Right.
Yeah, that's
That-
That's-
That's
that said
different.
It wasn't, okay.
Right,
So if we go back to billing like it was pre-COVID.
Yep.
The way the accounts always read was you had a negative balance. Is there any way we can change that? I mean, I don't know how integrated that is in that program, but you would show your billing or whatever would come as a negative $44.
is that through Power Lunch?
Yeah.
Is that how you use it? I'd have to sit down with Joanne or whoever does the Power Lunch, I don't,
But once you realize that it's not
You
a
try to
credit,
pay
it's,
more.
but every time I look at it, I'd be like, why do I have a credit? And then I wouldn't pay my bill, then I'd always
If-
be off, and they're like, you gotta
if-
pay your
get
hot lunch.
you
It's
get
like, I
another
have a
credit every
credit
month.
here, what's going on?
and unfortunately, that might be the worst of our worries if we start charging again, because, I mean, for 2 years, people haven't paid for
Yeah.
lunch and they're used to it. I mean, it's going to be difficult, one, because we have to raise the prices because of the cost of everything moving forward, and, I mean, it's just
I think I loaded
It's been a
mine last
nice-
year and then we never paid anything.
very nice break
In your head.
for our
I don't
people,
know.
for everybody. And I really do hope it continues forever, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I can look at that. I know little about that Power Lunch, Eric, to be honest.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve those prices and nothing for seconds.
Okay,
Can we take meal counts, sorry, I'll wait for the more discussion. My bad.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Good, Chad? Discussion.
Can we take the meal counts that were out of the system last year and project that then for revenue and actually get a budget together for that? Is that something we can do? Do you think? can we trend 3 years worth of meal usage based on counts and get some type of conceptual understanding
Hot
of
lunch
the
is
dollar amount that'll
so
go through?
hard because it's, I mean, you can project pretty much every kid and most staff eating on a daily basis. For that. The expense is the hard part because you never know what you're gonna get for commodities, for one thing.
Right.
And then when, you know, last year, because of warehousing and delivery, all of a sudden your commodities, you were getting a bill for $600 for delivery,
Totally
which we
agree.
never got before.
The question is how does school lunch supposed to know how much they can spend, or that we can afford to charge them $2 for a high school breakfast
Right.
if we don't project anything?
Yeah.
I don't understand, so.
Doesn't that get set by the state though?
The reimbursement amount for free and reduced and whatever else is set by the state. The state tells us you have to charge at least this for your students, and your adults have to be 65 or 85 over
that.
what you charge your students. And once again, in my meeting yesterday, and I don't know, done or not in the past, is we were hopefully going to try to set a food service budget, because I don't know, or I don't think there's been one in the past. And I think those people need some guidance as far as, you know, what we can spend and, you know, and
The other thing.
not to limit what they're doing, but everybody needs
Give them
to
a
be,
ballpark, left and right limit.
you know, very cognizant of spending moving forward, and that falls into the hot lunch program as well. How we're gonna do that, I'm not sure,
Can I
but
chime in?
Yes.
I've done what you're asking already.
Did the auditors ask for it?
No. After you asked at the last board meeting, I got numbers from Deb from her monthly reports, because Power School doesn't provide that information after the year has closed. And so I got those numbers, and I've kind of ran some loose information, but we haven't had a chance to visit about it, because there's been
Because
lots of
that's what
other
budget is,
priorities.
It's a guideline, it's not a make or break.
Yeah.
The only reason I get after this is I can name 2 school districts that have had audit theft found through school lunch testing. It's a high area along with extracurricular, so that's the only concern I have.
But yes, I have ran some of those averages.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion there on price setting? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Preliminary budget, you wanna touch a little about that? We're so early, we know we're gonna fine tune this thing going forward.
right, I'll have Lindsay, I guess, talk a little bit about that if you want, Lindsay, and anybody else on the
Sure.
committee.
I guess the committee reviewed almost everything line by line. Some of the things that you probably saw highlighted, if it was a yellow on the right-hand side, that's just something we know we have to address, because we are, don't have textbook dollars and whatnot 100% figured out yet. Otherwise, if you saw color coding in orange or green or a variety of other colors, that was all to do with ESSER funding and COVID, just to try to keep myself straight a little bit. The biggest item you will note is the deficit at the end, and that looks really probably pretty terrible to everyone, but we currently have $2.8 million that we carried over from this year, so that number is that negative because 2 bond payments will be paid this year, well, the 2 big bond payments plus the February payment. The bus that we purchased last year will be paid this year. Some of those expenses that we are going to carry forward into this year for tech purchases, all the things we've talked about before, to help us increase our carryover allowance for next year when that comes back into play.
So the budget you have is like 102,000 for a bus or something like that? Is
Yep,
that for
110.
another one?
Nope, that's the
for
one we've already
we
purchased.
okay.
Yep.
Why
Because
is-
there was 120 budgeted for another one out of ESSER, but in the conversation with the committee, you know, probably, maybe not the best time to be purchasing a bus. So we actually moved that out
Okay.
and moved curriculum into that
Into that
slot.
slot.
And so
To
that's why
purchase
the,
more textbooks
that's
and
why
stuff
the
like that.
textbook stuff is all still
Yeah.
kind of up in the air, so.
So right now, we're not looking to budget for another bus this next year, because
Okay.
we're looking to see if there's a grant.
Hopefully, if we can get a
grant.
grant in the next couple of years also to help minimize that cost.
Why did the library salary and related double? Where'd you pull that out of elsewhere?
So-
Secondary?
Yep,
got
it
the
came out
Bible.
of junior high and high school.
Okay.
In talking with Mr. Curry, we felt this was a more accurate number based on where Beth is actually spending her time.
That takes care of 3 questions. And then why is supplies always under budgeted on almost every sector? If you take a 3-year average, we're under all of them, probably 50% every time.
So been
On
taking-
supplies,
Yeah, on every department, we always overshoot supplies by
and,
double.
and
we
that's
only
one of the
budget a
things
small amount.
that we're changing is
Okay.
how we go about
Just checking.
requisitioning and purchasing supplies
Okay.
for that. So we've already talked about that and are changing how that is done moving forward.
I just smile and look at you. I just like, he
I-
can answer.
And did you guys, when you did the budget, did you already put that $5,000 extra multi-district, whatever we had to do for last meeting for the Cheyenne Valley education thing? You gave a report last month on
No, we
their
did not.
under budget at the Valley City, so we approved
Oh,
an
I-
extra, or was that just a recommendation, we didn't approve actual dollars?
That part was, nothing's been approved for that.
Okay, that's what I couldn't remember, thank you.
There's gonna be a different number for our assessment, I'll bring that up.
I saw
but yes,
that
Yeah,
stuff too. Okay, that's all I had.
so like I say, from budget and finance, we're looking through that, we haven't played anything in, cause we haven't anything with evaluations. We have to turn in the preliminary now, and we have up to October to finalize, so it's gonna be a work in progress, but we're just looking to approve this preliminary budget, knowing it's going to be adjusted a little bit here.
And this county will give us the tax rolls too, right, so that we kinda know where we are?
When
Mhm.
we
Yeah,
get
'cause
some of them, yes.
We didn't have that real solid
Yeah, I
in there.
know.
We didn't have any of that yet.
I was gonna say, townships don't either
No.
yet, so.
So we need a motion to approve our preliminary budget, not our final budget, preliminary.
I'll move, Jasper.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, any other discussion? If not, all in favor of approval of the preliminary budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Now we got first reading of the exit interview DKEA policy that you had in the packet.
And this is a new policy that I brought forth. It's came from the June School Board Association recommended policies to take to your committee. It's just doing exit interview with people that leave your district for whatever reason. Just trying to get some feedback from them to hopefully help us get better. One, I mean, know what we do well, but also know if there's things we need to change or need to look at also. So, and anybody on the committee can talk about it too. It basically states that any administrator, that person can go and talk to any administrator. If they didn't feel comfortable coming and meeting with me to exit interview, they could go to Mrs. Bussey or Mr. Wilson or whomever they felt comfortable with. And there's a questionnaire that goes, that they include as an example. We haven't sat down and went through it and actually looked at the questions and what fits us and what doesn't, but that would be the initial stages to give it to them and then do the face-to-face interview with them. So they thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, policy committee, but it's just good practice moving forward to do that.
Right.
Any information would still be, it says confidential, but you could share in generalities.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, we need a motion to approve first reading.
I'll make that motion to approve the first reading of, exit interview policy.
I'll second.
Second, Cindy. Any discussion? Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll vote approved, so that'll go to S is the first reading. Well, there's two of them, so we'll do the first reading of BBBA, officers of the board.
And really with this one, it was another one that came through School Board Association, is they added removal of a board elected officer for that. So that section was added to what our current policy was. That was about the only change with that one.
And that's not removal from the board, that's just removal from your elected office.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. Need a motion to approve first reading of BBBA.
I'll make a motion to approve BBB.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So all in favor, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor of approve first reading of BBBA, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one is, first reading is approved. Next one is BCAD, is executive session.
Same with this one, amended policy. We had the policy, but came through School Board Association. It changed a little bit. Basically, this new policy, in the first part, you see the procedures, they're well-defined. When our current policy, it told us what we had to do, but it wasn't as defined out. You know, first, second, third, this is what you do. So that's why this policy is nice. It just gives us a step-by-step.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Second by Lee. Any other discussion? Not, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor of the first reading of BCAD covering executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one's, first reading is approved. T, athletic director compensation, and we've talked about at finance at 5,500 is what we've talked about, right?
Is that what was in the packet like 2 months ago when we looked at it and then we told the super to go look for one?
I don't know if we talked, I don't know if there was anything on,
Paper, okay.
on
Yeah,
amount.
on the amount.
Right, you approved Mr. Wilson as the AD at the
At
last
June,
meeting.
But in May, they asked the super to go find one, and I thought it was at current, well, I could be.
We knew what our
Okay.
current one was in the superintendent contract at 5,000. These would be separate contracts, and we talked about for some of the duties and stuff, we proposed from the finance, budget and finance at 5,500.
Okay.
What's the reason for increasing it?
Looking a little bit at what we pay for trainer and the time involved, and that's one we're gonna have to look at next year, cause it is tied to a contract, and we are looking at that, doing that differently. So we looked at more, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about mostly time,
Mm-hmm.
And I think coaches are 5, aren't
and coaches were 5.
They're like
One season.
5,100, or a little over that.
Head coach, I guess.
So the head of all the coaches should, and the organization, we felt, should be a little more.
Is there a list of duties anywhere for the athletic director?
Prior to Mr.
Yeah.
Curry's arrival, I started, I could send it to him.
Yeah, I have
But-
not seen one. No.
Cause that originally was gonna talk with, at extracurricular to set some of them up, but that, I don't think you guys ever met for that, right, Eric?
No, but Mr. Severson had that whenever you gave him or something.
That was,
Email to
that
us.
was like a statement out of the old handbook.
Yeah.
Which is what's in force until we have a new handbook, so.
So I'll just send Mr. Curry what I,
Think you can work on some of that with, as we get moving ahead, but.
So is that something you could put on the agenda for extracurricular to see what that committee would like to integrate to or approve or whatever? 'Cause
As far as
it'll hand in hand.
AD job description,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, could run through them, yep.
So to answer your question, that was the justification to move from 5 to 55.
Okay.
Is why we talked about that. Unless you wanna do something different, that's what we brought forward from, to bring 5,500 for that job, and Lindsay would make that in a separate contract like we've done with the coaches and that type of thing.
Cause you know, your head coach only goes one season, the AD goes all year,
You can't
all
be
seasons.
an AD less than the coach, it doesn't make sense.
And who evaluates the AD?
We do, he does.
He does.
I do.
we talked about having a structure of everybody getting reviewed and then board getting a feedback from it.
And we've talked about that when we met to get valuations and that type.
There you go, that's the word, thank you.
So we basically are setting athletic director compensation, so that's what we're looking for, a motion of something there.
I'll make a motion.
At the 55 or a different?
Yeah.
55? Motion.
I'll take the committee's recommendation at,
Okay,
I second that.
okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of setting the athletic director compensation at $5,500 per year, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Next is set admission prices for games.
And I could have ran this probably through extracurricular finance, but I wanted an answer on it, so that's why I'm bringing it to the full board for this. And in the packet, you had what was charged last year for games, and that's 5 and 5. And I'll just tell you that Bars County North is probably the lowest school district as far as adults of charging any place around.
What's the norm to try to get more students in the bleachers? Is
For
that
s-
through admission or is
But
that?
I think student-wise, most of them probably have activity passes, which we'll talk about next. I don't think students, patrons, anybody, I don't think it's a cost of coming to a game.
Okay.
I think it's whatever else they have going on in their
Oh, yeah.
life.
Especially winter.
Correct, and I mean, not that people haven't always been, but, I mean, you go, and then all of a sudden you get a night off. Do you wanna come in? Plus, during COVID, all these games were, an option to sit at home and watch them.
Yeah.
And I think we use the NFHS network as our streaming site. I mean, it's a nice option to have for that, for people, and, it's, yeah, even pre-COVID, you just don't see the common fan come to as many events anymore, I don't think, for
So is this a
whatever
revenue
reason.
thing that we need to support our activities or is this just a
Yes.
fee
Yeah.
thing?
Officials' fees, the cost of candy, workers, everything keeps going up.
Okay.
For that. Are we looking to make money? Absolutely not. But even if we bump up, we're not even gonna come close to sustaining our programs, but it offsets some of the cost.
what
for
is it? Activities a night, about $200 a night for referees and mileage, or?
You're not even close.
No, they're way
3 officials at $125 per official, plus mileage, you're $500 probably.
At COVID time, we switched the admission.
And
So
it
that
never
they weren't-
changed, that was the
So
$5.
Is that when we went to 5 for everyone, so that we weren't
So there wasn't
handling-
handing
it was
ones,
just-
yep.
Yeah,
Let's go to 10.
so
That makes it
we
simple.
raised the students?
Yeah, now that you graduated,
Or
everybody.
did we,
Yeah,
did we lower the adults? Cause we were 6, weren't we?
For double headers, we're 6. Didn't you read your email here,
No,
Rob?
I got that, but we were 6 for regular games before. And then students were
I think they were,
3?
I think they were 3. Just from memory, that was a long time ago.
Well, yeah, 'cause if you look at this, standard admission, $5 adults, $5 students. You go to a double header,
Well,
$6
last
adults,
year,
$4
we were charging
for,
$5 even for double
Right.
headers.
Yeah, the student is cheaper at a double header.
right.
Well, the doubleheader last
I
year
don't think
was,
we changed.
we didn't change it, we just
didn't
kept the same
do
price.
how.
Okay.
That was before.
I have no idea.
Well, a lot of the schools that we go to away are $8 to get in for an adult. I don't know that we need to go that high right away.
Well, like Mr. Curry said, we're the lowest ones around, but I agree with you, cause you have grandpa and grandma that always comes in, or now all of a sudden they went from $5 to $8.
Well, seniors
or
were
they got a
free.
senior citizen.
Well, but if grandpa isn't a senior, we have a lot of, 40-year-old grandparents.
Well, then they can drag it up and pay it. They can afford it.
And a lot of times what happens is regions, when the ADs get together, they'll just talk and say, hey, everybody set the same amount, so when you go to a game, you don't get
Yeah,
ripped apart by somebody saying, well, so-and-so only
So-and-so
charges
is
this,
much
and you're
cheaper.
doing this, or whatever else, but.
What have you
I
heard
think
the
I
going
asked
rate
somebody
is?
and I don't think it was done, or,
I don't have the
But
knowledge base to
I
even-
don't.
What's your recommendation to do here, Mr. Curry?
I mean, to me, your students is plenty high at $5. I would not do anything for sure with your student. I would maybe go up to $7 for adults,
Perfect.
for that. And I don't know if you even wanna do anything different for doubleheaders. Just leave it
Just
as
leave it.
is
yeah.
for that, because how many doubleheaders do you have in a season? Do you have that many?
Well, last year we didn't because it stormed every time we.
Well, yeah.
Well, and you might not be there for both anyway, I mean, you
Correct.
watch the one
You're
game and you
You're
leave.
probably
Yeah.
watching.
I mean,
one
yes,
group anyway.
I mean, usually, I mean, depending upon who it is, doubleheaders, I don't know how they do the officiating. Sometimes it's the same group, sometimes you're bringing in a whole different group, which you're paying another set of mileage for, but otherwise the cost of officiating the games is the same in that sense. So, no, I would just recommend bumping up your adults to 7, and then I think you'll be pretty much on par with everybody else. And I don't think we're asking too much of our patrons, actually, to be honest, to kind of, to benefit them by the activity pass, which we will talk about next.
So who all gets in at an event without having to pay at the gate? I was obviously team players, coaches, concessions workers, band members.
I assume that.
Just
I would
because-
guess if they're playing in the
They're
band,
playing.
yes, you
Yeah.
would.
I would say,
You
cause
would let
that's a
them in
grade,
free?
so
I
they're
guess we have the band
required.
instructor. who
Yeah.
took it out.
Yeah, if they're in the band, they should, I don't think they should have to pay, 'cause
No.
that's like,
I just wanna
Yeah,
make sure.
the band-
guaranteed all
playing.
my students would be like,
Yeah.
yeah, but, and they're like, oh, thanks.
No, you-
Yeah.
It's an incentive them to join band then, hey. you
And I
can-
believe
I just
all
wanted-
staff get in
Yeah,
free.
school
board
they
members.
get the
Yeah,
activities,
board members.
Yeah.
We discussed doing
Oh
some
my
other
gosh,
things to
they
get
are
people here,
thirsty.
Jen, like doing halftime games. So we discussed other things to get people here.
Yes.
Like homecoming draws in
Talked about
tons of
before, too.
people, so if we can get little kids involved, like during halftime, I think that's really
Talked to a
good.
couple parents.
Yeah.
Can we give the administration the authority to change it, or to waive student fees for a game, or do things like that to try to draw more people in? Or to give passes to their
Coronation
students for a
night,
free pass or something, or to do things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at doing certain things, but I don't know. I mean, I'd hate to say yes or no, because I'm not sure. How many kids buy an activity pass? I
None.
mean, for that, I don't know, it's $15. I mean, that gets them into every game. I don't
You'd
know,
think they'd
I don't know how
all
many
do that.
purchase it.
I don't
Like
think
I said,
They
ever
used to
have.
cost that much or more
I
back
don't
when we
really
used
know
to
if-
get 'em.
I mean, they're getting the
Let's
money
set
most time from
something
their
and we'll-
parents.
Get
Yeah.
that back through extra.
Let's just charge a price for that, 5 and 7.
Is there a recommendation for seniors?
Yeah, charge them
free.
5, give them a break.
It was free before.
Who can afford it more than the
What was the
seniors?
other one, $2 or
One.
$1?
They're already getting cheap lunches everywhere.
Let's go $2 on them.
$2 a senior.
Cause grandma ain't gonna turn it away no matter what the price is.
No. My
$2
mom
for-
won't if she drives all the way out there.
$2 for regular
If it
admission, or
discourages
is that
admission, it's
$2
going
for
to
the
my
double?
kids.
Just $2 all the way across.
Same on double headers as.
Would be the same price.
Double heads would
Night
be the
of
same as the
activity.
Yeah.
You know how many seniors they gave in because they come in with $100 bill to break for a dollar admission? Just go in, just.
Have a good cash box.
Accountability sounds high.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion,
I'll make the motion for the
Gate.
gate at 5, 7, and 2.
I'll second.
5 for students, 7 for adults, 2 for senior citizens.
Correct.
Second, okay. Any other discussion? Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Activity fees, which right now we have at $15.
15 for students and then 40 for adults, which is a 10 punch card. So I don't know what you wanna do with that.
I
And
think it-
punch card?
Yeah, you get 10 games.
Can we just do lemonade
Four.
card and call it good?
I was gonna say, I don't know, wouldn't we just
How
have a
many?
card?
You,
How many home games do we have? What does it look like? That's what I would,
volleyball, you probably have 6 you split up
Basketball.
a basketball, you maybe have, you got 2 tournaments, I believe, for each team, so you maybe have 7, 8. So for you, 20 maybe in a year.
20.
Just laminate the card and call it good.
Yeah, I'd
Some
just
hair.
sell them the card and be done with
$50.
it.
$50 and get
$50,
a,
all activities.
all
for an
activity.
adult.
20 for the kids.
go from 15 to 20?
Yeah, we
They're not
should
buying.
use it a little bit, baby steps.
But
'Cause
still-
like they said, I think it was that way when I was in
It
school.
used to be 20 bucks.
Do we
for
have a
one
record of
school,
how
huh?
many purchased in the past?
I don't, Deb has handled
Deb.
all
So
of
if they
them,
get a
so.
card, will it have the year on it?
Yeah, just like ours.
Yeah,
And it said that a list is kept at the gate,
It
that, so
is.
the students don't have to have a card or anything, they just
Correct.
acknowledge that they have the pass and let them in.
The only thing I wanna say about that is for football games, Valley City, they honor our activity passes for our students. And for
Oh.
that reason alone, I would like, cause I've had to personally ask for my kids for cards. 'Cause,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, so
I
to get a
paid-
card, yeah.
Yes.
Would that be the same for wrestling then?
Should be.
Hockey?
yeah, cause you're all part of the,
Even their clubs honor
Where
their
are you
cards.
at?
Oh, you could, yeah.
What's
You
that?
could
Like
get-
board
hockey
member
isn't
owner,
that a
school
club?
member, you could
They
have
honor the
three.
Yeah, it
cards
could be
and
really
stuff.
throwing that around.
All I know
I-
is
I go to the
wrestling
football game.
and
Oh,
football,
school wrestling, yes, okay, yeah.
They
yeah, like,
honor.
shoot, go ahead.
All the time.
So laminated card, no punch, 50, adult, 20, student, so moved.
Is there a second to that? 50?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion?
We just need to promote them.
For sure.
Okay, 50 and 20, assuming a roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Yeah,
Opposed? Approved.
And we'll need, staff passes for football when they come, cause they were like late last year or something.
We have some tuition-free agreements, or that,
I've
Oh.
never gone
That's
one.
all of that, I think.
What's that?
you have tuition-free agreements?
Do you have those?
Yes, I have one resident district us going to Jamestown. I have one going to Pingree Buchanan, and I have another one going to Pingree Buchanan. So I have 3.
3 out. Okay. Need a motion to approve tuition-free agreements.
Question, once you approve, you don't have to do it annually, or you do have to do it annually? once you approve? Okay.
I'll make that motion to approve the, 3 tuition-free agreements.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Down a roll call.
You want a roll call
Yeah.
for this one? Rob, Chad,
Yep.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett.
yes. Even though we hate to see them go.
Yeah. Okay, then we're gonna move to miscellaneous, a different way we're looking at doing the agendas with some of these other things that are not committees, instead of pulling them together. Family Connection, Michelle isn't here, so we'll just move by that one. Career and Tech, I guess you can say what, you first got a letter from Valley City asking for us to.
25,000 for the next 3 years. So a total of 75,000 is basically the, Valley City donated the building to the Career and Tech Center.
That's what they're working on.
That's what they're working on.
They didn't sign the joint powers agreement that we talked last time, everybody else did. Valley did not, wanted to put in, as we talked at the vocational meeting, is if we own the building, we're gonna have something as for maintenance, which I talked about last month. So, since then Valley sent out this to all the superintendents, asking for 75. We had our meeting, weren't looking to give 75. What we worked back with them was to try to balance our budget, which we've been deficit spending the last few years to bring our reserves down, but we were sitting there at the meeting last month. Lindsay will understand this, cause Mindy sat there and said, well, you've done that and brought our budget down. I have actually $63,000. We're 83,000 in our general, and we're 20,000 in a hole in our building that didn't get moved. So she said, we got 63 grand. And we got $130,000 bills coming up. So we talked about, we assess, of our assessments, I'll give you a little story how it works. We build our budget, and then whatever is not covered by state reimbursements, grants, revenue we get for managing programs, whatever shortfall there is, that's what we assess to the schools. So last year, we assessed to the member schools $440,000. To make our balanced budget this year, we're gonna have to assess 502. So, and it works by many that can go to the vocational center. So this year coming up, Barnes County North will pay 14.81% of that assessment. Maple Valley pays 10.58. Valley City pays 70.38, and Litchfield Marion pays 4.23%.
So right about 100,000.
Well, you already have in the board bills for July, a
Which,
check cut for
Right.
$74,335.
which that budget amounts to, our assessment this year is gonna be
At full covered budget, but the question in the email was, are we going full, are we doing a $27,000 deficit or a $40,000 deficit?
Right, and we went, that's what the proposal, since our meeting, we went with the full.
Oh, you went with the full already. Sorry.
Because with Valley wanting that 75, we thought is that we need to bring the balance up to make the balance there and start building some reserve there a little bit back. This
But
way,
is a
Valley,
balanced budget. Option one was a balanced budget, wasn't it? Not a
That's-
reserve.
to build, so we have some reserve money, we need a
Oh.
balanced budget.
Oh, okay, got it.
So that's what we're adding 62,000 to our request to the schools for the assessments. So that's where we went with the balance of budget to address that. Then we started talking about the building fund, which the center cannot do like schools and levy for a building fund. So Valley asked for, in these letters, 25,000 a year for 3 years, 75,000. And that way they wouldn't have to put anything into that for 3 years. And they would donate the building to us in that scenario to get the matching funds for the $3.2 million expansion. We came back with, we will build a building fund of $100,000. So in the proposal that we sent back to Valley to look at with their joint powers agreements with Valley City to Valley City, from Valley City Public to Valley City, City of Valley City, and then to us, would be that over the next 3 years, we would contribute $11,000, and so 33,000 over 3 years.
So Maple
And
Valley,
then-
BC, and Litchfield Marion would each give 11 a year for 3 years.
To build $100,000, and then everything from there will go back to the assessments for any maintenance. That's what's not approved, that's what we've worked at the board to go back to Valley City Public, that scenario. And that's why we wanted to raise this here, because then Valley City will pay a lot to get this back up, because they're gonna pay the 70% of this to build the reserve back up.
Back to the balanced budget to leave your reserve at what you had at the beginning.
We need to get about 130 to 150,000 to cover our summer bills, yes. So, right now, the feds have only okayed 4 states still for the grant money that they wanted to get out so we could all work on it. Fargo's and some of the shovel-ready guys are already 9 million in the hole because they're already spent their,
Sure.
in lieu of their money they had to get donated to do the match.
They used their match
They're-
already and
They've
they
already
haven't
used their
got any.
match, they've already used their match waiting for the other money to come.
So they
And-
have to pass this for the most part, don't they? I mean,
They're
nobody
ho-
tells the government what to do, I get that, but
Well, this comes from the feds, then In the whole scenario, we also have a $20,000 grant that is due the end of August for part of the programs that we're gonna buy equipment for. So we're gonna buy some appliances for that type of, and so we don't lose that $20,000 grant. Cause we had to have that done by the end of August. It's been a long couple of meetings.
I was gonna say,
So a long story short, our assessment for this year is gonna be 74,000, like I said, we're gonna be up about 12,000 from last year. We were about 63 last year, 62 or 63,
and what's the first quarter thing then? That was also paid for 10-9.
that's for the counselor.
Oh, got it, okay.
So we worked on that, we worked on the budget, the house project, we're working on 2 houses, we're gonna have one on site and finish the one up at the center that's sitting in the parking lot. We're also getting her to get a regular construction loan to pay us back of that 20 grand we were short from what we thought we would be at the year. She put a down payment down and expecting the house to be moved, and they didn't get the foundation in, and this gives us 2 opportunities to work on houses. But she's gonna come up with the difference of what we have into the house so far.
Do they-
Jasmine Neski,
Oh, the lady that owns the house?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if you meant Mindy.
Do they generate revenue off of that house?
usually 15 or 20 grand,
Where does that go?
into this house account that's really running in the negative, it's running a
That's
separate fund.
all separate fund.
That's a separate fund. That's where she's saying she's actually 20 grand short in that host fund. All that type of stuff goes into a totally different specified funds.
So Career and Tech approved the balanced budget. We were assessed our 74, the check is cut.
Yes.
The motion on the table right now is not for us to decide on the 33 over 3 years. But
We will decide that next month, it'll come
When
back to us to be,
Valley City
once
approves
we
it, they
work
move the
through
building
this
in.
thing, next month we'll have something concrete that we will have to look to approve, I'm just.
That's
kinda-
actually a preliminary number at this point
Yes.
yet.
was it with half that last week?
Right.
Last month,
Yeah.
got it.
We believe that's where it's gonna be, but no, we'll have something concrete through this next month till then. Pretty much that was most of it. I mean, the grants and, summer projects, they won 17 grand to erect the greenhouse, and Derek is doing that. Him and Scott, the boys at the vocational center, are putting that up right now. I was up there today, helped them a little bit.
Should have their construction crew doing it.
They put some of it up till they got going on the house, and now we wanna,
Okay.
yeah, so they did a lot of the frame and did the footings, and now we're putting the rest together. It's like a 20, how'd they say today, about a 20,000 piece of erector set. So, and I do have, I sent out, that was
Yep.
kind of the budget stuff, but that's kind of where we're at with the career and tech. So I believe that's where it's gonna be. So in that case, if we put that in, and then the joint powers agreement will change that if something ever happens to the vocational center, that it would go defunct or anything, everybody would get their original investment back. Valley would get some of the building stuff, we would get the 33,000 back. So that's gotta, Valley's gotta change their joint powers agreement to reflect that also.
Basically, we're getting stock in there.
Like they all said, everybody's gonna have a little skin in the game there, yes, yep. So any other questions I'll answer if you've got any, but that's where,
Now their
We've been-
plan, so their plan then is to stay at a balanced budget for the, continue forward then, because they want to maintain that cash buffer for any major,
we need to work on this 130 to 150 to cover our summer months, yeah.
okay.
Not saying we're ever gonna, if we underspend it, we might, but that's what we did before, we thought.
Right.
Cause all that money is everybody's school money, so we didn't want a big balance there. That's actually school's money, so last few years, we kinda held it and depleted it down a little bit.
Okay.
So, that good news, we'll jump into Cheyenne Valley Special Ed.
Yeah, same thing, and anything that comes through miscellaneous, just, it's all for informational purposes. And same thing, special ed will probably come up in August, about what we decide to do with our deficit spending. Basically, in a nutshell, the special ed unit kind of got caught in the perfect storm. this past year, going off trend data in setting our budget last year. They had always got increased revenue than budgeted, and the expenses were always much less. This year, it was the exact opposite of what has happened the past 4 or 5 years at the unit. Our revenue came in less, and our expenditures came in higher, hence the 400,000 deficit spending with that. So, and you can see some of the areas Tracy put in here on where that less revenue was and the increased expenses for that. So in our 2.5-hour meeting last week, couple weeks ago, I mean, we went through that budget and kind of picked it apart on where we went wrong and how we got ourselves into this situation. And it was just, like I said, I mean, if you go back, the trends from X number of years ago, and they're all the same. I mean, it's all increased revenue, lesser expenses, and not this case. So here's where we are. So we're looking at, and we haven't decided yet. I think everybody just kind of needed to back away from it and kind of exhale and take it to their boards so that they knew. But you know, we need to probably put $500,000 into our special ed unit through assessments, which means everybody's is going to go up a pile. Ours could possibly go up from 79 to 129, 50 grand. Valley City's $250,000 from what their previous one was. Percentage-wise, I think our increase was 64% over what our initial one was, and we were the lowest. Most of them were 85, 75 increases to build this fund back up to figure out, I mean, what we need to do. The problem is, and we know this moving forward because we see it everywhere, is special ed, there's more needs coming to every school district, which means you have to keep the staffing where it's at, because you can't have less staff to meet the needs of our kids, but the state, the federal government is not increasing any payments to special ed units. So how do we offset that? And it's not in this that Tracy went out, and I can put it in next month, but there's 6, 7 different bullet points of how she's going to try to cut down on the expenses through this year and hopefully get us back to our $600,000 carryover that unit is used to. But so I'm guessing at our next meeting, we're gonna have to approve what, you know, this increase percent for each district and bite the bullet. Fortunately, this year we can get away with it. Moving forward, can we afford to pay 129 or kick in 50 grand every year more? No, we cannot. And everybody's in that boat in that sense. Like I said, and we can't go back, we can't change it. It is what it is, but we need to, I mean, really moving forward, be a little bit more diligent in how we do it. And yeah, I mean, nobody projected it, nobody saw it coming, but it came, and this is where we're at.
That was 68%, what was that number?
64% increase from our initial assessments, another 64% increase,
What was
which
that?
is at 50,000. So take 79,000, 64% of 79 is about, what, 50,000?
Sure.
That was our additional increase.
And that's not in our preliminary budget?
No, it is not
It's 82 right now between the ESSER and tuition.
for that, right? Yes,
So we'll have to get that
correct.
rewritten into the budget
Yep.
and the additional VOTEC then too.
Yeah.
Yes, so that is not in that one that we went through last week. Yep.
Jigsaw puzzle anyone?
So, just, if you have any questions on it, contact me personally, and I could probably walk through some more things with you on it. But in August, I will let you know what was decided or what we need to do to.
What is your email?
My email, it's just andrew.curry@k12.nd.us.
Why do they want a $500,000 carryover? Is their budget that erratic?
The $500,000 isn't gonna get us, basically with the $500,000, Eric, it's gonna get us almost at a balanced budget for next year.
Oh.
Because we've already deficit spent so much, and we're only carrying over 174, and looking at next year's expenses compared to our revenues, we're gonna need all that money, because it's another projected $300,000, 250, where is that number? $284 deficit is projected.
Okay.
I mean, once again, we're hoping that that trend goes where our revenues exceed our expenses by a lot more. We
Why-
build that fund, but
Why is that revenue stream so erratic?
because of your student contracts was down by 100,000, of course, gas went up. It's the cost of 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, don't quote me on the exact timeline, is that they started offering insurance to classified staff. They did it 0.5% or 50% payment year one, and they moved it to full payment the following year. And that kind of came into play, part of this as well, is that expense.
So we're supposed to pay for their poor choices.
And I can't say anything, I was,
It just means
Not
they
through
deferred that
this, yeah.
expense till now, because
Yes.
they probably should have done 100% to start.
It's coming due.
but, I mean,
Can't get employees.
have to do
without
it to get
benefits
people
either.
to fill those positions.
So, who's our lobbyist?
Yeah.
For the state, for the special ed money?
Who is ours?
Who's our lobbyist?
Yeah, I don't know.
Our
I'd have to
Education
look into that.
Association, or School Board Association,
Well-
or,
I mean, I think it's NDCEL is probably one of them, who would be our lobbyist. Amy Kopus is her name. Going through, I think you have to go through the special ed unit, the head of that person. Doesn't come to my mind, but they need to go and start, because it's everywhere. I mean, we all see the increased needs in our buildings. You know, and you cannot minimize staff dealing with any kid, but especially kids with needs for that. And it's just, and it's hard finding people to fill any openings we have. We were lucky to get Paige.
do we head count special services students separate?
Yes, you would get extra,
You
we
get-
get extra a little bit more.
I'd have to look at the foundation aid
Yeah.
revenue
Like,
worksheet.
What would you say the percentage with special ed qualifications would be? Probably, I mean,
What do you get, like 1.36
Yeah,
probably?
it's just a little bit more than a head count per kid.
An extra,
no, I meant in our building,
oh,
how many are, like, what percentage are we talking about?
Oh,
here?
our,
Yes, are we talking 1 in 4?
percentage, I don't know.
I don't think we
Um,
have.
I
I don't
can,
know how many special ed
wait,
Oh,
I
I'm just,
mean,
IEP students there are, but
I can,
it
so
couldn't be
that,
that
that's what
many.
I don't get, like, when Mrs. Brennan with an MTSS and the different levels of testing and so forth, but when does it consider a level 3 tier with a different curriculum versus special ed?
240.
That's all
That's-
through their individual education plan
Okay,
is where that
I'd
comes in.
say about 10%.
Oh.
Yeah, with always keeping in mind
I mean,
least
that's-
restrictive environment.
That's a rough
oh,
estimate.
About-
yeah, I don't wanna
About
be-
10% though on the IEPs basically for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, So,
I
so
think-
if you have any more questions or want to know anything more on that or really want to deep dive, give me a call and I can either probably have you call Tracy or I can give you a little bit more information.
So the special ed teacher we hired goes through Cheyenne Valley
Correct.
Special Ed.
Yeah.
Was she in their system before,
No.
or is she a new hire? just
She's a
like
new hiree. She's a
Brand new
new
out of-
out of
Brand
college.
new, period.
Yeah, so she's actually cheaper than
Oh, yeah,
whatever
yeah, yeah.
employee, but,
Just experience wise, I was wondering if we have 1
Or
in
used to
10,
be.
yeah.
you know, to manage that.
Okay.
Got it.
All right,
School board convention, we don't have anything right now, right? Or you
Just-
don't have-
It's just for informational, whoever's gonna go or
Jennifer
the
will
dates
be
on it
required
and,
to go.
Probably have to.
yeah.
She has to.
For
Yeah,
that
'cause
and
you
whoever
gotta
else
learn
wants to
stuff.
go, let Lindsay know, or,
Yeah, you'll have that when it comes ready to go, okay? Then we got the additional coverage and,
yeah, I think it cost us about $1,600 for the full year to get, well, I know, what, 3 million just on
Million
our
more on
building, and X number on other areas too, so it's kind of a no-brainer. So we just, I mean, that's,
So basically, NDERF came back with a recommendation of what we should have for coverages,
Yep.
and it
you went
was,
with that.
yeah,
Did they do an audit or just
just based on price increases.
when's the
and-
last, I mean, can I ask, when's the last time we had an audit, just when we built the school? Like, I know NDIRF will come out and do an audit of your
Well,
facility.
NDERF came out when they assumed the policy in 2020,
Yeah, I think
2019, 2020, it was right when I started.
That's all, I'm just wondering how recently they looked at our facilities.
How about like these new switches and stuff we're installing, are they all covered through this too then? I mean, how much on the technology?
yeah, it's because all that technology stuff gets coded and gets put into our inventory
Like
system.
an equipment breakdown coverage
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, what if we take a lightning shot and 5 new switches are out?
I mean, that is all written into the policy and part of it.
That's my
Yes.
understanding, yes. That's why we got rid of that Hartford boiler policy and went with the equipment breakdown coverage with NDERF. So everything's all under the same policy.
And does that replace on replacement cost or purchase price or?
Usually fair market value.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. I would have to talk to the insurance guy to actually give
Just
you
curious, that's
an
fine.
answer on that.
Yeah, I'd go with purchase or, replacement cost, if possible, cause
Okay, then the last one is the extracurricular fund, and we talked about moving that from the QuickBooks account
Correct, yes,
into the activity.
yes, and then creating a separate
Line item for.
line
each.
item or separate account for each activity with separate line items of, salaries, supplies, and so that if somebody really,
Salaries wouldn't go through there. Salaries
No.
would still go through the general fund.
okay,
But it would be like, you'd be able to see what your revenue was for gate fees compared to what the officials paid.
For each sport.
yeah,
Which was the 1,000 that we moved over in this bill list for,
Because there's bills that need to be paid.
just to cover them?
Mhm.
So, isn't, because we talked about starting them with
No,
1,000.
this
We
is
didn't do
still
any
in
of
the
that yet.
old account because there were checks that needed to be written, for Jarrell's, for some volleyballs, basketballs. Yeah, and that just is gonna cover those expenses basically.
So it'll be just moved as.
easier to
needed.
track on
It's
a
gonna be
yearly
easier to track.
basis what each activity is spending.
And
And it
that's
should
one-
be run through Lindsay's software.
System.
And the report will be about this one.
It'll be long, but, yeah.
That's what we talked about, budget and finance, that's what they're gonna do there, so.
cause we need a 5th packet when we get our board emails.
It'll be one PDF, 35 days.
It'll be shorter. Annual meeting's always the biggest and longest, so.
Okay. Anything else?
You're lucky
If
they
not,
don't hand you
we're
the general ledger.
adjourned.